Alright, so this video is going to be about graphing sine and cosine. Okay, now, as we all know, sine is x, but, you wouldn't just graph it as an x or anything like that. It's gonna look somewhat similar to like a wavelength. That's how these that's how these sine and cosine graphs pretty much work. And you'll see from this. So let's just use, as example, this is going to be the equation. Sine 1/2 theta. Okay. Now, before we can even, start attempting the problem, we first need to find out the period. And I'll just use P. And the formula for period is 2 pi over A. And the term after the sine, but before the theta sign. So in this case, it's the 1/2. That right there is what A is. So it's going to be 2 pi divided by 1/2. And in division, when we do it like this, you just flip it over and multiply it. So 2 pi times, when this is flipped over, it's going to be 2. Because 2 over 1 is just 2, so we can leave it right there. So that will give you 4 pi. So that sets up a perimeter, if you want to call it, for how far our graph will go. Alright, so let's get to it. So, since we're going up to 4 pi, we can just do this in increments of pi. So, start off with 5 pi. Pi over 2. Hey, granddaddy. No, I'm good.
Huh?
I'm good.
You good?
Uh-huh. So when you multiply these two, come out with pi over 2.
Hey, Jay, what about you?
And according to the unit circle, when we're at 90 degrees, pi over 2,
You want something to eat?
the y is going to be 1.
You want water?
See, before you even do this, you have to know the unit circle. So, look at the tutorial video for a unit circle when that comes out. This time it's 2 pi. So we're going to have 2 pi times 1 over 2 this time. Which, if you cut that in half, is going to be pi. And then based on our unit circle, that's going to be 0. So now we go to 3 pi. And then this is going to be 3 pi over 2. See, once you get a rhythm going, it's very simple. But I recommend that you either know your unit circle or have one near you when you do this. It's going to be -1. Then you got 4 pi, so 4 pi times 1 over 2 is going to be, you cut that in half, so it's going to be 2 pi. And then 2 pi, according to our unit circle, the y for that is going to be 0. So there we have all of our numbers, 1, 0, -1, and 0. So now we're going to draw our graph. Alright, this is going to be 1, and this is going to be -1. So down here is -1, down here is, up here is 1, and then we have our points from our theta, which is pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. So now we're just going to, dot them where they are in here. So of course, from the 0 point, you're going to start at 0. So we're going to go up to 1, which we did. Going to go down to 0 for 2 pi. We're going to go down to -1 for 3 pi. And then back up to 0 for 4 pi. So those are our dots. So now we could just connect them. There. And yeah, that's basically, that is how a sine graph looks. But due to the 1/2, it's been modified a little bit. But yeah, that's what it is. And then, and now to do one cosine graph. Okay. So, man, this is a long video. So, let's do cosine of 2 theta. Alright. So now we're going to find the period for that. Which is going to equal 2 pi over a. So, and in this case that's the a. So 2 pi divided by 2. But you're going to flip it around and then multiply. So 2 pi times 1 over 2. So basically cut it in half, which is going to give you pi. So that's our period. So that's the limit to how high our theta can get to. So just like the other one, we're going to pretty much do this in increments of 4. So since we had to do this in increments of 4, so I'll start off at power 4. The power 4 times 2 is going to equal pi over 2. Pi over 2. And according to our unit circle, that's going to be 0. So pi over 2 multiplied by 2. All this is going to be multiplied by 2. So pi over 2 times 2 would just give you pi, which is -1. And we have 3 pi over 4, If we multiply that by 2, we get through pi over 2, and then that's 0. And then pi times 2 is going to be obviously 2 pi, then it's 1. So that's how our we have our point set up, 0, -1, 0, and 1. So let's set that up real quick. Okay, so we start at 1 for cosine graphs, which is a big difference between, that and a sine graph. So according to our chart over here, first it's going to go to 0, then -1, and 0, then +1. Yep, so those are our dots. So let's connect them. Yep, and there we go. That's how your graph look for cosine 2 theta.